Lectron is a major player in the electric vehicle charging business. They sell a bunch of different types of adapters, they sell smart circuit splitters, and yes, actual charging equipment from small portable chargers to wall-mounted, permanently installed, higher-powered electric vehicle chargers, like the one we have here today. In today's video, I'm going to be providing my full review of the Lectron V-Box 48 amp electric vehicle charging station. So first, let's open up the box and see what comes inside. Okay, now that it's unboxed, we're going to take a look at what comes with the unit before we jump into how to install the V-Box. But before we do that, let's take a look at the Lectron V-Box's key features. The Lectron V-Box costs $499, although it's currently on sale on the Lectron website for $469. And I reached out to the company and they said they didn't plan on ending that discount anytime soon. So this could be one of those cases where there's a list price, but the company always sells it at a reduced price to make it seem like there's a sale going on. So keep an eye on that. It sounds like $469 is really what you'll have to pay for it if you buy it directly from Lectron. It is available at higher prices online on other websites. So if you're going to buy it, check out the Lectron website first to make sure you have the lowest price. Dimension-wise, it's 13.4 inches by 9.6 inches by 4 inches. It's a 48 amp unit which can deliver up to 11.5 kilowatt. It comes with a NEMA 1450 plug attached to it. It has adjustable power output from 16 amps up to 48 amps. It has a 20-foot long cable. It comes with a J1772 connector, which will charge all electric vehicles sold in North America, including Teslas if you have the J1772 to Tesla adapter, which Lectron also sells. But you can also buy this same unit with a Tesla or North American Charging Standard plug attached to it. It's sold in both variants, J1772 and NACS. It has an IP55 enclosure rating, which is equivalent to a NEMA 4 rating. It has an operating temperature of 122 degrees to negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not a smart charger, so there's no app, there's no Wi-Fi connectivity. It is ETL certified, so that's safety certified. ETL is very similar to UL, so we accept that as we do UL certification. It's Energy Star certified. It comes with a 1-year warranty. There are options to purchase longer warranties, but out of the box, it only comes with a 1-year warranty, so it's going to lose some points in our ChargerRater scoring. And the unit is made in China. All right, so let's take a look at what came in the box. First up, we have the user's manual and installation guide. Then we have a mounting template. This is what you would use to drill your holes to mount the unit to the wall. There's 4 holes here, and what you would ideally want to do is land at least 2 of them on a stud, if possible. Now, it does come with the mounting screws and drywall anchors, but quite honestly, these are, in my opinion, inefficient unless you were to get wood blocking or studs and really mount this thing, all 4 screws to studs. These are kind of small, thin screws. Usually electric vehicle charging equipment comes standard with some thicker, heavier screws to really bite into the stud, or big, heavy, thick drywall anchors. These are kind of the least that they could do and get by. I wouldn't personally use these drywall anchors if I had to mount this on drywall. I would get something better anchors so that it's more secure. You know, the unit with the cable. The cable has a remote connector cable management system. These aren't extraordinarily light, and sometimes you're pulling on the cable if you're stretching. If this isn't secured really well, you can easily pull it off the wall. And these anchors, in my opinion, are not adequate. Okay, that's for the body of the unit. It has 4 screws, as you can see on that mounting template, and back here on the bracket, which we'll get to in a second. Then they have a remote connector holster. So it's a 2-piece unit, actually. Lectron sells this individually, and it's actually one of the things that I recommend my followers buy if they don't like the cable management and connector holster that comes with their electric vehicle charger. These are really convenient. You can buy them and install it anywhere in the garage, so you could have your body of a unit here, but then install this on the side wall, maybe right next to your charge port. So when you pull into your garage, the connector's right there. It's a 2-piece unit. You could either just connect it, hang it to the wall on these 2 hooks, then you're just gonna have a cable management. You're not gonna have a connector holster. I recommend putting this on, this fits right over the 4 holes there, and mount it on the wall. They do supply you with the 4 screws and drywall anchors. These are probably fine for this, but again, I recommend try to get at least 2 of these screws on a stud, because the cable isn't light. This is a thick cable, and if you just use these and drill into drywall, I don't think it's going to last. I think it's going to pull off. So if you're just biting into drywall, get a little bit better drywall anchors for that. Finally, we have these 4 screw caps. Now these go over the 4 holes on the side that the mounting bracket attaches to. Now you particularly want to use these if you're mounting this outdoors, because it's going to keep any of the elements from getting into those screws and maybe eventually working itself into the body of the unit. Now it is IP55, which is kind of equivalent to NEMA 4 rated, so that's a good weatherproof rating, and it's fine to use outdoors. It's just put these little caps in there. It can't hurt, and it's going to protect you from getting any type of water intrusion in there. You might have blowing wind and rain. So okay, here's the unit. You've got a 20-foot long cable. It's pretty thick, and it feels a little plasticky to me, first impression. We'll see how well it performs in our cold weather cable test. The connector, first impressions, feels cheap. It doesn't feel like it's a good connector. It doesn't have a rubberized grip, very plasticky. And one of the things I noticed, it has a nice rubber cap to protect the pins. That's good. The locking mechanism on the top is flimsy. It's probably the weakest of any connector that I've tested. I can push the locking end and then push the tab down and just bend it. Typically, I can't do that, or if I can, there's a little bit of play when I do it. But this one, I can easily just manipulate it, and that's a little bit of a weak point, I think, in this connector. I don't think it has a very strong locking tab here. It's plastic and it feels thin to me. Okay, and we'll go, here's the NEMA 1450 plug. As I mentioned, this is a 48 amp unit, but if you're going to use it as a plug-in unit, it has to get derated down to 40 amps. You can't deliver the full 48 amps. For that, you have to hardwire it, which we're going to go into later. First impression on this NEMA 1450 plug, I don't like it. I don't like when the plugs have exposed screws like this one has. It has 4 screws that you can unscrew and open the plug. It's very rare that charging equipment has this. It's usually one molded piece, and those seem to be better for water intrusion. When I look at the end here and I bend the cable, looks like water could possibly get in there. I'm not saying it will, but it looks like it can, and that's what happens when you have the plugs that aren't molded in one piece. This plug was added on the end of this cable. Like, I could replace it if it breaks. I could take these 4 screws out, open it up, put another plug on, and do it, which some people might like. I don't like that for charging equipment. I like to see this all molded in one piece so that it eliminates any opportunity for water to get in, which, you know, when you have 4 screw holes and then you have the cable going into the plug like this, it leaves itself open to the possibility of water intrusion, which is the last thing you want on your high-powered electric vehicle charging plug. Okay, now let's take a look at how we mount it on the wall. As I mentioned, there's 4 screws on the side here, 2 on each side. They're Phillips head, so you're going to have to unscrew these 4 screws. Let me do that really quickly. It seems like the mounting bracket, I'll show you in a second, slides in. Let me get those 2 screws out. There we go. So the mounting bracket looks like this. It will go on the wall here with your 4 screws, and then it slides into these 4 grooves, and then you tighten the screws up and you put your caps on. So what I have to do next now is mount this on the wall, and then we'll take a look and see what the unit looks like mounted on the wall. Okay, so I have the V-Box mounted on the wall, and I'm using this as a plug-in unit. I have it plugged into the NEMA 1450 outlet as it comes out of the box. The first thing you notice is it has this display screen here, which is actually very nice. This isn't a Wi-Fi connected smart charger, so it doesn't have an app. You can't get charging information there, but you can get it here on this display screen. And what it displays is the current draw that the vehicle is taking, how long the charging session has been going on, how many kilowatt hour has been dispensed by the unit to the vehicle, the output rating that you have the V-Box set at. You can see here I have it set at 40 amps because I have this plugged into the NEMA 1450 outlet. If I directly hardwired it, I could have had this set to 48 amps. It also shows you the line voltage that you're currently on. That is going to vary. Your voltage in your home is going to dip and raise from time to time depending on the electric loads in your house and in your area. And also it shows here the internal temperature of the unit. Now I mentioned earlier in the quick tips that the operating temperature for the V-Box was between 122 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, but that's the ambient temperature. This temperature here is the internal temperature, and that's going to go higher than the 122 degrees that this is rated for. So don't worry if you have one of these and you see this number go higher than 122 degrees. I expect it to get a lot higher while it's charging, particularly in the warmer weather. But that rating that they give you, that's for ambient temperature. This shouldn't be outside in a temperature which more than 122 degrees. And we're going to do our extreme heat test later on it, so we'll really be able to take a look at just how hot it gets inside. I won't have to use my infrared thermometer as much as I usually do because this is going to tell us the internal temperature, although I'll use it just to check it out anyway. Okay, so as you could take a look at the unit, it's actually a nice design. It probably size-wise fits in between, say, a ChargePoint Home Flex is a little bit smaller and an Autel Maxi Charger is a little bit bigger. So the size of it is probably average for electric vehicle charging equipment. It actually has a really nice design here, and I guess it has this light here. This is a blue light, and that light's going to change depending on whether you're charging or not. Right now it's blue, and that's just kind of in the standby mode. And I guess this is why they call it the V-Box, because it's a V, an LED V. I don't know what the naming reason is that they call it a V-Box, but it has a nice big V there, so maybe that's why they called it that. Has a remote connector holster, which I showed you before. The one thing I will mention about this is I like remote connector holsters because you can mount them anywhere in the garage. It doesn't have to be right on the unit, but it doesn't have a tapered inlet, so it's easy to not be able to get it attached. But I've used this frequently, so my little tip is you get the channel on the bottom of the J1772 and you put it in on an angle and you kind of land it on the channel there, and then you just push it up. If you're going to use this every day, that's probably the best way. Otherwise, it's going to get frustrating plugging it in. You're going to miss it. You're not going to get it right on. I really prefer when connector holsters have tapered inlets, so you don't have to be perfect when you land the connector in there. With this one, you kind of do have to be perfect, and if it's in a dark area, it might be a little difficult to get that thing holstered all the time. I know it's a little thing here, but that's what we do here. We pick apart all the little usability things, and a lot of these things these manufacturers don't even think of. They just say, okay, we'll make it. Yeah, it works, it plugs in, but they don't think that somebody's going to be plugging and unplugging this every single day, late at night, sometimes in a dark area, and you know, if it's not easy to plug in and take out, well, it's not very usable. And talking about usability, so it has a very thick cable. I measured it to be 22.5 millimeters. That's one of the thicker cables that we've tested here. So I'm interested to see how this is going to perform in our cold weather deep freeze test. We're going to do that coming up soon. I haven't done it yet, but I don't think it's going to do well. Maybe I'll be surprised and it will. Okay, so next what we're going to do is take a look inside the unit. I'm going to open it up, and if you really wanted this to deliver the full 48 amps that it can, you're going to have to hardwire it. So we're going to take a look at how you would do that and just take a look at the overall build quality of the unit once it's opened up. This video, as well as all of the videos here on State of Charge, is sponsored by Qmerit. Once I've helped you decide which electric vehicle charger you're going to buy, then follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. So if you want to use Lectron V-Box to its full potential and deliver the full 48 amps it's capable of delivering, you need to hardwire it. So in order to do so, you need to remove this NEMA 1450 plug. Now, I say you, and I really mean you're a licensed qualified electrician. I don't encourage my followers to do any electrical work themselves, especially on electric vehicle charging equipment, because of the extreme loads it's under for such long periods of time. It's just safer and a better idea to have a licensed qualified electrician, preferably somebody that specializes in electric vehicle charging equipment, like my channel sponsor, Qmerit. They're pros at this. They know exactly how all the connections need to be torqued to the right torque ratings and everything. And that's really important because of the loads that'll be being delivered on here. Okay, so let's take a look. I've already opened or removed the screws. There's 5 screws on the back of the unit that you have to open in order to remove the faceplate. I've already taken them off and then hung it back up on the wall for demonstration. And it is unplugged. So I put some tape on the top here to hold the cover on. Okay, so now the cover comes off. I'm going to tape it over here so hopefully it'll hold it up. Okay, so as you can see here, there's 2 different strands of cables that go to this front cover plate, and that's for the the V lighting and also the display screen. So I'm not going to disconnect that for now. I'm just going to hold this up here. As you can see, this is the cable that goes to the J1772 connector. And here is where the NEMA 1450 plug gets connected. These 2 wires here, and then the ground's over there. So this is what would need to be removed. These 3 wires here would get removed. And then you'd have your electrical feed coming in through this same hole. Now, a lot of EV chargers that allow you to do hardwiring also have a knockout in the back of the unit somewhere. So you can have a really clean installation and just pull your wires in the back and you don't see anything. That's not the case with the V-Box. There's nowhere where you could really safely bring wires in through the back of this. I mean, you might be able to somewhere up here, but it's not designed for it. So you're going to be doing some exterior conduit and having it piped in through the same opening where the NEMA 1450 plug comes in. Now, as far as build quality, the cover it's not very thick plastic. As far as, you know, the robust build, it's probably on the lower end of some of the chargers that we've reviewed here. And I wouldn't say it's very poor construction. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's adequate. I don't think that it's, say, as well built and as strong a case as, say, a Clipper Creek, that you could just hit it with a baseball bat as many times as you want and it won't break. If I hit this thing a couple times with a baseball bat, I would smash it apart very easily. Not that you should be hitting your charging equipment with baseball bats, but I would say it's probably on the lower end as far as build integrity. This cover's really thin. I can bend it in my hands. And I also noticed there's a rubber gasket inside here. It's a very thin, extremely thin piece of rubber. I mean, it's like 0.5 millimeter thick. It's very thin and it falls out when you open this up. So, as a matter of fact, you wouldn't be able to see it if I pull it out. Be careful if you do open up the case because I think it's so thin you could probably tear it pretty easily. So you want to make sure that stays in there and is safe. Now, you also need to adjust the output amperage on the unit. Well, first of all, it comes set to deliver 48 amps, which is what it can deliver, but it has the NEMA 1450 plug on it. I don't like that they ship you the unit and it is automatically set to deliver 48 amps, but it has the plug and you have to remove the plug and hardwire it if you want to deliver it to 48 amps. It should come factory set to deliver 40 amps, in my opinion, because that's what they deliver it as with the NEMA 1450 plug. So I already turned it down to the 40 amp output because I'm using a NEMA 1450 plug. And you do that on the back of the unit. There's two screws that you take off, a little cover opens up and there's a wheel there. And you can adjust the power from the 48 amps that it can deliver all the way down to 16 amps. Now, if you're going to use the NEMA 1450 plug that comes with it, like I am, you have to open that up and set it down to the 40 amp output before you start using it. Otherwise, it's possible to overdraw your circuit. If your EV is going to try to pull more than 40 amps, it will, and you'll end up tripping your circuit breaker. So I don't like that this thing comes out of the factory set to deliver 48 amps with a plug that you can't deliver 48 amps through. I think Lectron should change that and have it factory set to 40 amps. If you want to hardwire it, then you have to open it up and change that little wheel for your output. But that's where you do that. It's in the back of the unit. You don't do it inside here, which most of the chargers, you have to open up the box to adjust the power. This, they have a special little door in the back that allows you to change it back. That's actually a good design, so you don't have to open this up and mess with it. But I just thought it was strange that it comes set to deliver more power than what you can run through the plug that comes on it. Okay, well, that's how you adjust the power output and how you hardwire this so it can deliver the full 48 amps. Now let's jump into some of our testing. It's time to put the V-Box through our extreme heat test. I put this heat lamp here in front of the V-Box 2 hours ago, and I let the unit get up to about 120, 125 degrees. I hold it at that for 2 hours. Then I plug in an EV and I let it pull the maximum draw, which is going to be 40 amps, about 9.6 kilowatts. I have my Rivian R1S here. I'm going to charge that for 2 hours, leave the heat lamp on it to see how hot the unit gets and if it continues to charge or if it shuts off or derates its power, so forth and so on. So when I plugged in the Rivian, I already have this heat lamp's been here for 2 hours on here. The unit was at 124 degrees. That's the internal temperature. It was 124 degrees. We're going to see how hot it gets during this charging session and if it continues to pull the full amount of power that the V-Box is supposed to be able to deliver. Okay, well, 2 hours is up. Rivian's still charging, and it is accepting its maximum draw. I can tell from inside the vehicle, but I can't tell from here. And that's because what I noticed after about 15 minutes of charging with the heat lamp on it, the screen went black. So I thought I melted and burned the screen out because it got too hot. So I removed the heat lamp, and within a minute, the numbers came back. So it's just temporarily not functioning when it gets too hot. But as soon as I remove the heat lamp, just for like a minute, you see the numbers start to appear again. One thing I will notice is this plastic case here is warped now. The temperature of the outside of the unit is about 175 degrees. I've been testing it with my infrared thermometer, and so I guess it's too much for it, and it's starting to warp the plastic casing. So this probably isn't a good choice of a charger if you're going to mount it outdoors and you live like in Arizona or southern Texas where it gets really hot and the sun is just baking on it. And I know the ambient temperature isn't going to get that hot, but if there's direct sunlight on this black plastic, it can heat up hotter than it is outside, especially when it's charging and it's pulling power. The internal temperature right now is about 165 degrees. That's what the unit is reading when I remove the heat lamp and the display comes back on, but it's working. So it passes our extreme heat test. The unit's holding up just fine. It's pumping the electrons into the Rivian, full 40 amps the whole time as it's supposed to. However, as I mentioned, this might not be the best choice for an outdoor installation if you live in an area that has extreme heat and you're going to put it in direct sunlight, because I think this display screen is going to have some issues. Next up, we're going to do the automatic restart test for the V-Box. I'm going to plug in my Chevy Bolt EV. Then I'm going to go to my service panel, turn off the circuit breaker to simulate a power outage. Then I'm going to turn the circuit breaker back on, and what we want to see is the V-Box begin charging the vehicle again. Some charging equipment remain in a fault state and don't re-engage the vehicle to start charging it again. You wake up the next day and your vehicle isn't charged. So what we want to do here is we want to see the V-Box begin charging the vehicle sometime within a couple of minutes, which is how it usually happens. So I'm going to plug in the Bolt EV now and turn off the circuit, turn it back on, come back up, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to record the front of the V-Box to see how it reacts. So hit record, plug in the bolt. Okay, so as you can see, it started charging. You hear that beep. Now I'm going to go turn off my circuit breaker. Okay, I'm back and it started. That was pretty fast. It's already been charging for 13 seconds now. So yep, the V-Box passes our automatic restart test. Next up, it's time for our cable deep freeze test as well as the connector drop test. Put the V-Box in this freezer 24 hours ago. This commercial freezer, it gets well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The chargers are usually somewhere around -15 or so. So let's see how cold it is in there right now. All right, -13.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we do this test to see how well the cable performs in cold weather. Some people that live in the northern states, cold weather areas that mount these units outdoors, they have to deal with the cable all winter long when it's freezing out. And if the cable gets really stiff, it's hard to manipulate to plug in and unplug and coil up on the cable holder. So we do this test to see just how well the cable performs when it's frozen. So let's see how well the V-Box does. So as you can see, I coil up the cable in these small loops. Now we're going to see how well it uncoils. Okay, it's actually not that bad considering this is a thick cable. That my initial impressions were that this was not going to be performing well. This isn't bad at all. And it's a thick cable. It's more than 22 millimeters. It's stiff, but if you notice, it's bending. It's not remaining all coiled up. So as far as thick cables go, this is pretty good. Now, it's not going to get an excellent rating because it still fights you a little bit. But you could see how I uncoiled that, and now I can coil it right back up. And then, let me take this, is stuck on. You can see the frost on the connector, and then holster it. So, see all that? That's not bad. So definitely better than I expected it to perform. I thought this was going to be one of those frozen ropes when I first felt it because it doesn't feel very rubberized. It feels more plasticky, the cable. That did well. So it's not going to lose any points in our ChargerRater. It's not going to get any points. It's not what I would consider excellent, but it's borderline. It's pretty good. So I'm surprised. All right, next up, now that we have the cable and connector nice and frozen, we do the connector drop test. So we're going to drop the connector 5 times from about waist high, and we're going to see how it holds up. Now, I specifically waited. The review is pretty much over at this point. I've been using this unit for about 3 weeks now, but I waited till the end because I am concerned that this is going to break. It does not feel like the most solid connector that I've used here. So let's see. 1. And 5. Okay, she held up well. There's a little, the plastic on the outer edge is a little damaged, but it's not bad. It's fine. Okay, it held up. I was concerned about this one because, as I mentioned in the review, particularly this tab, I think if it landed directly on the tab, it might have broken it, but it held up, so it's a pass. We're going to give it a pass on both the cable deep freeze test and the connector drop test. Well, that's it for the review. Now let's take a look at my scoring. First up, we're going to go to the ChargerRater, my point-based charger rating system. Okay, in the cost and value category, the V-Box is going to get 2 points for the cost because it's under $500. It's going to get another point because I'm giving this a good value. A 48 amp charger for under $500 is a pretty good value. It's going to finish up the cost and value category with 18 points. In the power and weatherproof rating category, it's going to get 2 points because it can deliver 48 amps. It's going to get 1 point because it does have adjustable power. It's going to get another point because it passed our extreme heat test. It's going to get 2 points because it is NEMA 4 rated. It's going to get 1 point because it's Energy Star certified, and another point because it passed our automatic restart test. It's going to finish up the power and weatherproof rating category with 23 points. It's a good score for that category. Next up, we're going to go to construction and durability. It's going to lose 1 point because I'm giving the connector a below average rating. I don't like this connector. I don't think it's well made. I think Lectron could do a better job with sourcing a better connector. It's going to lose 1 point there. For cable length, it doesn't get any points because it's a 20-foot cable. Personally, I prefer cables to be 23 or more feet long, but 20 feet is passable. It doesn't get points, doesn't lose points. Cable pliability, I am going to give the Lectron V-Box 1 point because it scored pretty good. It's not excellent, but it did better than I expected. It's going to get a point there. Robust construction, I am going to ding it 1 point here and give it a below average score. The V-Box itself, the unit does not feel like it's very high quality. The plastic is thinner than the outer casings on most of the chargers I review. It warped in our extreme heat test. The outer black plastic cover is warped in a couple different places. It just doesn't feel as robustly constructed as most of the charging equipment we review here, so it's going to lose a point there. Removability, it's simply removable. It's no points there. You don't gain or lose. Ease of installation, it's also simple. No points added or lost. It's going to finish up the construction and durability category with 14 points. For the smart and non-smart category, it's not going to get any points here. It's not a smart charger. It's not PowerShare capable. It can't be connected to a Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa. It does not have extensive charging data. It does have that screen, but that's just for that specific session. Once you finish that session and unplug the car, all that data is wiped, so it doesn't store any type of charging data there. So it doesn't get any points there. It's not OCPP compliant, no points there. So it's going to finish up that category with the baseline of 15 points. For safety, certified, and warranty, it is safety certified, so it doesn't get any points. Now for the warranty, it's only going to get 1 point here because the V-Box only comes standard with a 1-year warranty. That's very low for electric vehicle charging equipment. The industry standard is 3 years. You can buy longer warranties. Lectron will sell them to you, but it's not included with the unit, so it doesn't get points there. It's only going to get 1 point. It's going to finish up the safety certified and warranty category with 16 points. And that's going to give the Lectron V-Box a grand score of 86 points on our ChargerRater. And when we take that score and translate it to a 5-star rating, The ChargerRater gives the V-Box 4.3 stars out of 5. I then offer my own personal score and average the two for the final results. I'm going to give the Lectron V-Box 4.1 stars out of 5. It's a pretty good unit. I wouldn't discourage somebody from buying it, but there's things that can be improved. I really don't like the connector. I think I've said that enough times here. The cable's a good cable. I wish it was a little bit longer. 20 feet's the bare minimum that I accept on cables. The construction of the box, I just don't feel that it's really up to the construction of most electric vehicle charging equipment. I mean, if I push on it hard, I can push it in. And that just typically isn't the case. Usually these units feel almost like they're airline quality plastics. And I just don't get that feeling with the V-Box. It's very light. When I open it up, the case, the cover feels very lightweight. I don't know how well this is going to hold up long term. Really don't like this connector tab. I'm really concerned about this thing breaking. It's very weak. It's the weakest one on any connector that we ever reviewed here. So that's an issue. I mean, Lectron, I think, has a good base product here. They need to get a molded plug. That's another problem that I have as far as construction-wise. Mold the plug, a little bit longer cable, nice connector with a rubberized grip. Maybe make this a little bit stronger. And this would be actually a highly rated unit on here on State of Charge. So it's not bad as it is. And like I said, I wouldn't discourage someone from buying it, but it's not going to be near the top of our recommended ratings. It's a recommended buy. I wouldn't tell you not to buy it, but I think there's other units out there that might be a little bit better, a little bit more well-rounded, all things considered. Okay, so if you average my 4.1 with the 4.3 that the ChargerRater scored, the final score for the Lectron V-Box here on State of Charge is 4.2 stars out of 5. So the only thing left is to talk about my key hits and misses for the Lectron V-Box. Okay, for the hits, price. It's $499 is the regular price. Lectron sells it for $469, and it seems like that's really the set price, even though they list it as $499. So $469 is a good price for a 48 amp charger that's safety certified, has a nice display screen. It's a good deal, so that's a hit. The second hit is the display screen itself. I like this display screen. It really gives some nice charging information. I wish it would retain some of that information, have some memory, and have maybe a running total of how many kilowatt hours you've dispensed from the unit, but it doesn't. It wipes it clean between each charging session. I like that it has the internal temperature of the unit. That's important, and very, very good job there, Lectron. I like that. And it had good cable performance. This thing way exceeded my expectations coming out of the box. Kind of felt like it was a stiff cable. I thought this was going to really be a bear to work with, but after 24 hours in our deep freezer, it was very easily maneuverable. So that's one of the hits. Okay, the misses. The overall construction. I think, you know, the connectors, tab, the fact that the plug is not a molded plug and it possibly can get water intrusion, and the plastic for the whole unit itself just doesn't feel as thick and as strong as most of the other chargers we review here. The poor connector, we talked about that numerous times here, and the fact that it only has a 1-year warranty. It's really hard for me to understand why these companies won't put out the industry standard of 3-year warranties all the time. You know, when you say it only has a 1-year warranty, you're projecting the fact that you don't have confidence that the unit's going to last a long time. Yeah, of course you can buy a longer warranty, but you shouldn't have to. I would, if I was running the company, I would make a 3-year warranty standard, and then I would offer, say, a 5-year warranty, 2 additional years for, you know, $69.99 or something like that. I think that'd be a fair price, give someone peace of mind for 5 years. Okay, well, that's it for our Lectron V-Box complete review here. I hope this review helped you decide if you want the V-Box hanging in your garage to charge your electric car or not. If you do decide you want to buy a V-Box, there's a link in the description of this video to purchase it. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.